Okay, we're finally here. Last of these videos, and then the chapter closes. Kind of. Hi, I'm ReveloGM, and I've been making the Vox Machina party from the show, primarily. Critical Role games also sort of, in Pathfinder 2nd Edition Remaster for the past year and a half. This is it. The final one for now. Leveling up Pike to level 9. So, getting into it, Pike, what's she been up to? Well, she got the killing blow on the dragon Sky Sunder, stepped on Vax's foot for being a peeping Tom, and died. Yeah, she was killed by a Glabrazel, big demon, which bisected her with its pincer. They were close to a temple with powerful clerics, thankfully, and were able to get her resurrected. That was lucky. A kiss from Scanlan pushing the ritual from a failure into a success and turning her hair white in the process. See, told you we'd get to why that happened. After this terrible event, Pike upped her strength as a part of her training on a ship as a sailor and was able to wear plate armor, making her better able to defend herself from attacks at the expense of her stealth, at least in 5e. This is also where she changes from being life domain over to war domain, I think. And if you're thinking of changing from something to something else today, maybe go from unsubscribe to subscribe? Yeah, that would be cool. Anyway, that's it. Not as many specifics, but some pretty impactful moments nonetheless. Okay, so we're leveling up Pike to level 9. Let's check what's in 5e first. Skip to the time on the screen if you just care about the Pathfinder stuff. At 2nd level, Channel Divinity. You gain the ability to channel divine energy directly from your deity, using that energy to fuel magical effects. You start with 2 such effects, a turn undead and an effect determined by your domain. More on that in a moment. Some domains grant you additional effects as you advance in levels, which will be noted there. When you use your Channel Divinity, you can choose which effect to create and must then finish a short or long rest before you can use it again. Some effects require saving throws, and when you use such an effect from this class, the DC equals your cleric spell save DC. Easy peasy. And then beginning at 6th level, you can use it twice between rests, and at 18th level, so not quite yet, you can use it 3 times between rests. And when you finish a short or long rest, you regain your expended uses, so that's nice. So Channel Divinity Turn Undead, as an action, you present your holy symbol and speak a prayer censoring the undead. Each undead creature that can see or hear you within 30 feet must make a wisdom save, and if they fail, it is turned for 1 minute until it takes any damage. A turned creature must spend its turns trying to move as far away from you as it can, and it can't willingly move to a space within 30 feet of you. It also can't take reactions, and for its action it can only use dash to try and escape you from any effects to prevent it from doing so. And if there's nowhere to move, it uses the dodge action. So I'd forgotten actually that Cleric sits level 2 where this all starts, not level 1, because in Pathfinder there's not really any direct anti-undead element to a Cleric, or not in the immediate vicinity anyway, but from level 1 you have got those AoE heal spells that you can do, which can work as a undead defense, whereas level 2 in 5e is when you get your turn undead. And our Channel Divinity from War Domain is Guided Strike. Starting at 2nd level, you can use Channel Divinity to strike with supernatural accuracy. When you make an attack roll, you can use your Channel Divinity dice to gain a +10 bonus to the roll. One of those rare, just flat up number modifiers in 5e. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the GM says whether the attack hits or misses. So that's pretty cool. And yeah, being able to hit consistently, or more consistently, at least once, on an important hit. Say if you're trying to get the last hit on a dragon potentially, and you think you're maybe just a couple of points off of the AC, can't hurt, especially if there's no one dead around to spend it on. Level 3 is easy in 5e, it's just 2nd level spells. We'll cover spells at the end. Level 4 is ability score improvements. Let's guess +2 to con, that would make sense. Also an extra cantrip, which as of level 9 she hasn't chosen yet, but it's there. Also, Destroy Undead we get at 5th level, which is when an undead fails its saving throw against your turn undead feature, the creature is instantly destroyed if its challenge rating is at or below a certain threshold, which is shown in the cleric table. At 5th level it is challenge rating of a half or lower. We also gain our increase to our proficiency bonus 2+3 and 3rd level spells. At 6th level, War Domain, Channel Divinity, War God's Blessing. This one I remember Pike using a couple of times, I'm pretty sure. At 6th level, when a creature within 30 feet of you makes an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant the +10 bonus to them using your Channel Divinity. You make this choice after you see the roll, but before the DM says whether it hits or misses. So it's the same thing that you can do for yourself, just on someone else. 7th level, again, Caster, just 4th level spells. 8th level, more ASI, so let's go +2 to Charisma, we're guessing. Obviously they started level 9, so that's the first character sheet, so we're just making these ones up. And Destroy Undead now works up to challenge rating 1 Undead. War Domain also gives us Divine Strike at level 8. You gain the ability to infuse your weapon strikes with divine energy. Once on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 damage of the same type dealt by the weapon to the target. And when you reach 14th level, the extra damage increases to 2d8. Pretty cool. Finally, 9th level, +4 to proficiency bonus. Well, it's +4 in total now, and we have 5th level spells. And there we go. I just sit on my microphone. And there we go. Spells are now at DC 16, +8 to attack. Strength attacks are at a +5. AC is 20 with the shield and the plate. No initiative modifier still. Speed is still 25. Saves are all low across the board apart from wisdom at +8 and charisma at +6. Skills, athletics and religion at a +5, perception at +8, passive perception +18. And her hit points are now at 65/72 as per the others. I think that's from Hero's Feast or something like that. Pike can now prepare, I think, 13 spells, and these can of course be changed out, but on the sheet we have listed Cure Wounds, Guiding Bolt, Healing Word, Spiritual Weapon, Revivify, Death Ward, Greater Restoration, and Mass Cure Wounds, which isn't 13. I think maybe Ashley thought that included cantrips. Spells are confusing. Those are the ones that we will be basing our Pathfinder ones on roughly anyway, as and where we can. And speaking of Pathfinder, here we go. As you may know if you've been here before, or if you play Pathfinder 2nd edition, even levels mean a class feed and a skill feed most of the time. So, for level 2, we have taken Rapid Repose for the class feed. The trigger is an ally is reduced to 0 hit points. You work quickly in emergencies. You stride towards the triggering ally, and you gain a +10 circumstance bonus to your speed during this movement. Given what happened with Grog and others, what will continue to happen as the games go on with this party and going down a fair bit, this feels like it makes a lot of sense, especially with Pike not being super quick naturally. Of course, she could get something else to help with that. In 5e she does have the Sprinter's Boots, which we've not added here, but we could, but this gives us a boost to that anyway. Remember, in Pathfinder, you can move multiple actions. She's not just got 15-foot movement and that's it. She is rather slow because she's in plate and because she is a halfling, but you can move multiple times. So this +10 just gives her an extra boost, but regularly she is going to be, rather slow. And for her skill feat, we did take Student of the Canon, which requires you to be trained in religion, which of course she is. You've researched many faiths enough to recognise notions about them that are unlikely to be true. If you roll a critical failure at a religion check to decipher writing of a religious nature, or to recall knowledge about the tenets of faiths, you get a regular failure instead. Small wins. And when attempting to recall knowledge about tenets of your own faith, if you roll a failure, you get a success, and if you roll a success, you get a critical success. She's spent a lot of time learning about Sarenrae, so I feel like she's had knowledge about such things, and is mainly the person that they come to, at least initially, for knowledge about various deities, so that checks out. Level 3 gives us a skill increase, so we have upped our religion to Expert, as per the above, which at this level means it's at a +11. We also get our second Doctrine, which now means we can be completely trained in martial weapons. So that's good if we ever do change out the scimitar for something else, though that being Sarenrae's chosen weapon, we're going to keep that around. We also get a general feat. Given what happens to Pike, we've taken Die Hard, which is, it takes more to kill you than most. You die at the dying condition of dying 5 rather than dying 4. Death saves are a little more stacked against you here in Pathfinder, even though you get an extra step. You've got 4 levels of dying usually rather than 3, but if you get wounded and stuff, then the number you're rolling isn't just a flat 50-50 anymore. It is starting to become harder to roll a success, but this means you get an extra step. If you died once, you're even less likely to do it again. It'll also tie into another feat down the line. Level 4 is a skill feat and a class feat once again. We've taken War Priest's Armour, which requires you to be a War Priest, which Pike is. Your training has helped you adapt to ever heavier armour. You are trained in heavy armour. Whenever you gain a class feature that grants you expert or greater proficiency in medium armour, you also gain that proficiency in heavy armour. And you treat the armour that you wear of 2 bulk or higher as though it were 1 bulk lighter, to a minimum of 1 bulk. So that's pretty cool too. There we go. Plate armor is now sorted, and it's a bit lighter. We also took Multilingual as our skill feat, so she can now speak Dwarven, and we also added Jotun as well for her time with Grog, even though he wouldn't be able to read or write it. This is a simple feat. You have to be trained in society to utilize it, and you easily pick up new languages, and you learn 2 new languages, and you can take it again. Level 5 has a few bits. We've increased our athletics to +11, being expert for a start, and we're also going to boost our abilities. Our strength is now +2, as is our con, our charisma is now +3, and our wisdom is now halfway to being +5. Pike's stats aren't that high, so these are starting to be higher now than the 5e counterpart. Perception we also increase to expert, so that's now at +17. And we chose project persona, as an ancestry feat. Project persona is where others etch their armor to serve as a conduit of their imaginations. Your vivid mind and bold personality allow you to project a more fitting persona over your lackluster armor. You change the shape and appearance of your armor to appear as ordinary or fine clothes of your imagining. The armor statistics do not change, and the effect lasts as long as you remain conscious and are wearing the armor. A creature can disbelieve the illusion by seeking or touching your armor, and the DC equals your will DC. Seeing as Pike magically summons her plate in the show and is otherwise not wearing it, this felt like a fun way to convey that. Granted, she probably doesn't look lackluster in it. There is technically a spell that she could use for this, but given that this is a gnomish thing anyway, it seemed like a cool alternative. Level 6, we've taken another reaction, class feat, Divine Rebuttal. Trigger, your ally is about to roll a saving throw against the magical ability of a creature you're adjacent to. Requirements, you're wielding your deity's favoured weapon, which she is. You strive against magical threats physically and spiritually. You can strike an adjacent creature with your deity's favoured weapon, and if you are holy or unholy, the strike gains that trait, so it would be holy for Pike. If your strike hits, all your allies gain a +2 circumstance bonus to the triggering saving throw, or +3 circumstance bonus if it's a critical hit. Pretty cool, honestly, and as we have in our version of Pike using the scimitar, she can use this. Lots of foes Vox Machina fight who have spells or breath weapons that require saves, so having this as a way to help people out feels right, even if it does mean Pike needs to be, right up in the fight. Remember that in Pathfinder there are 4 levels of success, so an additional +2 or even +3 could very easily prevent a crit, or make something go from a regular success to a critical success and taking no damage. We also took Sanctify Water as a skill feat, which costs 1 action, and has the prerequisites of you being an expert in religion and must worship a deity that lists holy or unholy in their sanctification. Pike, again, Serenway, has the option to be holy. You imbue water with your deity's blessing. Choose a container of water with light bulk possessed by you or an ally within reach, and until the end of your next turn it becomes holy water or unholy water. You can choose holy water if your deity allows holy, and unholy, you get the idea. This is a temporary effect and does not impart monetary value or allow this water to be used for costs of the ritual or the like. If you're Master of Religion, you can sanctify 2 containers, and if you're Legendary, you can sanctify 3. Again, this just kind of feels right for Pike, honestly, and someone who's setting up new temples and things like that. Now, level 7, skill increase, but we're taking our Pike in a slightly different direction and giving her training in stealth. It's only at a +9, but it's still trained and no disadvantage now, so that's a win. We also get our third doctrine, which is you gain expert proficiency with your deity's favoured weapon, martial weapons, simple weapons, and unarmed attacks. Favoured weapons are usually going to be one of those, but it means if it is an advanced weapon, you get that too. Also, when you critically succeed at an attack using your deity's favoured weapon, you can apply the weapon's critical specialization effect, and you use the spell DC in place of your class DC. Great, love that. We can hit better with our scimitar, and when we crit, it's better too. And finally we get a general feat, following up on Die Hard with Numb to Death. The prerequisites are you have Die Hard, and you have died at least once, which we know Pike has. Your past has left you numb to death's call. The first time each day that you regain hit points while you're dying, you gain a circumstance bonus equal to your level, to the number of hit points you recover. And you neither gain the wounded condition nor increase the value of the condition. So there we go. If Pike goes down and gets back up, she has a boost to the healing. It doesn't get wounded immediately either. Wounded means when you go down, the dying value starts higher, so that's very good too. Lasting longer as well means that she can help heal others lasting the battle longer too. Okay, level 8 next. Class feat Sanctify Armament, getting into that war element of Pike a bit more. This has the prerequisites of the holy unholy trait again. We've got holy and it's 1 action. You touch a weapon and bring it into concordance with your deity. For 1 round, that weapon gains your holy or unholy trait and deals an extra 2d6 spirit damage to creatures of the opposed trait. For example, if you are holy, the weapon would deal an extra 2d6 spirit damage against unholy creatures, and if you use it again, that use sort of expires. So she can use it on her weapons or someone else's, which is cool, and it's no spell slots, it's just 1 action. It's similar to the divine weapon thing that she gets in 5e as one of her channel divinities from the War Priest from the war domain, but that can be used on anything, and this is just on unholy creatures, but some of them will still come up. It's also kind of like what we see her do in Season 1 of the show, where she gives all the townsfolk weapons, just on a slightly smaller scale. It's still cool though, and is solid extra damage. For our skill feat, we've taken Exhort the Faithful, which prerequisites are expert in religion and follower of a specific religion. Your knowledge of the tenets of your faith gives you some insight into the best ways to get others of your faith to help you or to follow your directions. When you request something or coerce members of your own faith, you can attempt a religion check instead of making a diplomacy or intimidation roll, and you gain a +2 circumstance bonus to the check. And on a critically failed attempt to request, the target's attitude towards you does not worsen. Pike can be useful for negotiations both in and out of the party, as we know. As a cleric of Serenway, I think we've seen several times where others of the faith look to her to help out, and also means that she can help out the party by speaking to those of the faith, so I think that works out. Finally, level 9. We're going to upgrade Athletics to Master, as Pike is a monster, so that should help with strength, feats of strength and things like that. We also gain Resolute Faith, which means that Belief provides a bulwark against insidious thoughts. Proficiency rank for will saves increases to Master, and when you've rolled a success at a will save, you gain a critical success instead. Better saves are always good, and saves where if you're already good at them, you become amazing at them essentially because you just skip one rank of success, or even better. And finally, we take another ancestry feat. We've taken Vivacious Conduit. The connection to the first world has grown, and its vital energy flows into you rapidly. If you rest for 10 minutes, you regain hit points equal to your con modifier times half your level. This healing is a vitality effect and is cumulative with any healing you receive from treat wounds. There we go, so that's even more potential healing for Pike. Having an affinity for that kind of magic just kind of feels fitting for this. We'll cover the spells in a second, but let's have a look at how Pike squares up with herself first. Her +1 strength is +2 in Pathfinder, +0 is still the same for Dex in both systems. We have +2 con in Pathfinder versus +1 in 5e, +1 to intelligence in both, +4 to wisdom in both, and +3 charisma in Pathfinder, +2 in 5e. AC remains 20, but is now 28 with a plate armor in Pathfinder, 30 with a shield, and if we had Benediction on as well, that's 31. The armor is a +1 set of armor. It's also +1 resilient set of armor, because those are all things that would be within the levels that they have leveled up through, so they would have been able to get if they so wished, which means that when we come to reflex saves and all those things, there's also an extra +1. Hit points, as we said, 65 to 72 in 5e, with 98 in Pathfinder. At 8 perception is a +17 in Pathfinder, meaning that most of the time initiative is going to be a +17 rather than the +0 it is in 5e. Cantrips, we have 4 now in 5e, though we haven't decided what the 4th is yet, and 13 spells with 14 slots, I think. Spell attack +6, DC 16. In Pathfinder, we have 5 cantrips still, we have 14 spells, which is also the amount of slots that we have, because that's how that works, and 5 heals in addition, which all of rank 5. So, kind of 14, kind of 19, you get the idea. And our spell attack is a +15, DC 25. Proficiency saving throws are good for Pike, the rest are like +1 or +0, but Wisdom's +8, Charisma's +6. In Pathfinder, Fortitude is at +16, Expert, Reflex is low at +12 and Trained, Will is now +20, being Master. We still have 3 skills in 5e, feels so low still, but it's the way it is, with Perception being highest at +8, the other 2 being +5. In Pathfinder we have 8 skills, highest which is Religion at +17, followed by Medicine at I think 15, and Athletics at +14. Simple weapons and martial weapons have remained the same, of course, for training in 5e, but we now have expert training in simple, martial, and unarmed attacks in Pathfinder. And then the other abilities start to vary with, you know, where things have gone. So we're not going to compare them directly, more than obviously we already did by talking about them. So let's cover the spells again quickly. Pike now has 5 heals in her Cleric Healing font, each of which does 5d8 hit points of healing, and then an additional +40 on her 2-action heal. All of her cantrips are now also upcasted to level 5 as well, meaning that they also all deal more damage if they are damaging cantrip, or if they have some other value that can be increased, then that is the same. For example, was it changed out shield for light because Pike has an actual shield, so yeah, I think we're gonna change that over, but again, she can change these at any time, so it doesn't really matter. We now have Sanctuary at level 1 in addition to Benediction and Breathe Fire. Sanctuary is 2 actions, Concentrate and Manipulate, Range of Touch, targets 1 creature, lasts 1 minute. You ward a creature with protective energy that deters attacks. Creatures attempting to attack the target must make a will save each time they try. If the target uses a hostile action, the spell ends. If they critically succeed, Sanctuary ends. If they succeed, they can attempt its attack and any other attacks against the target this turn, but then it'll have to be rolled again. On a fail, they can't do it and they waste the action, and they can't make any other attempts. And on a critical fail, they can't attempt it, and can't attempt it for the rest of Sanctuary's duration either. Useful spell for protecting the innocent, or maybe Scanlan or something if he's just like trying to run and not directly fight stuff. Spell rank 2, we took Everlight because, it's the Everlight. This is 3 actions, has the Concentrate, Manipulate and Light traits, and the Range of Touch, and targets a gemstone worth 6 gold or more. I'm sure Vex has a few of those. The gemstone you touch glows, spreading bright light with a colour of your choice in a 20-foot radius, and dim light for the next 20 feet. And the spell ends immediately if the gemstone is broken, but otherwise, the duration's unlimited. So, pretty cool. We also took Fear the Sun, going with the kind of vaguely Serenway vibes again. 2 actions, Concentrate, Manipulate, range of 30 feet, targets 1 creature, Fortitude, save for defense, and the duration varies. You cause a creature's vision to become partially sensitive, particularly sensitive even, and the creature must make a Fortitude save, and then is temporarily immune for 1 minute. If they critically succeed, they are unaffected. If they succeed, they become Dazzled 1. If they fail, they become Dazzled for 1 minute. Opposed to for 1 round on a success, and on critical failure, the creature gains light blindness for 1 minute. The creature, if it is already exposed to bright light, it immediately becomes blinded until the end of its turn, as it isn't acclimated to its newly acquired light blindness. If we were to heighten this as well, you can do up to 10 creatures, which is kind of cool. And then we took Spiritual Armament, which is 120 feet range, targets 1 creature, defends as the AC, and sustained for up to 1 minute. It has a Concentrate, Manipulate, Sanctified, and Spirit traits, and you create a ghostly, magical echo of the weapon you're wielding, and fling it. You attempt a spell attack roll against the target's AC, dealing 2d8 damage on a hit, or double on a crit, and the damage is the same type as the chosen weapon, or any of its if it's a versatile weapon, and the attack deals spirit damage instead. That would be more detrimental to the creature. This attack uses and contributes to multiple attack penalty. And after the attack, the weapon returns to your side. If you sanctify the spell, then the attacks are sanctified as well, so it would be a holy attack, And each time you sustain the spell, you can repeat the attack against any creature within 120 feet. So that means once you've cast it, if you spend an action on your follow-up turn, you can blast one of these out again. So it's kind of similar to Spiritual Weapon, but it's not a floating thing, it's a thing that you shoot out from your side. At level 3, we took Anointed Ground, going kind of with the creating a new church and the sanctifying water kind of angle, Concentrate, Consecration, and Manipulate. It takes 1 minute to cast and costs oils worth 3 gold, and area is 30-foot burst centered on you, duration until the next time you make your daily preparations. You sanctify an area, sprinkling it with certain oils and warding it against your foes. Choose aberrations, celestials, fiends, monitors, or undead, and all those creatures gain a +1 status bonus to... all creatures in the area gain a +1 bonus to AC, attack rolls, damage rolls, and anything those against the chosen creatures. So kind of just cool for a vibe spell, but also if you've got a plan and you're able to prep something, then this is really cool as well to give you that extra +1. Holy Light, 2 actions, spell attack, has the attack, Concentrate, Fire, Holy Light, and Manipulate traits, quite a few. Range 120 feet, targets 1 creature, defenses AC. You shine a blazing ray of light tinged with holy energy. Make a ranged spell attack, and the ray deals 5d6 fire damage, and if the creature has the unholy trait, you do an extra 5d6 spirit damage. On a critical success, they take double damage, and on a regular success, the target takes full damage, and if the light passes through an area of magical darkness, or a creature that is affected by magical darkness, the holy light attempts to counteract it. If you need to determine whether the light passes through an area of darkness, draw a line between yourself and the target spell. So that's cool. A very powerful beam attack against a creature, and also can potentially dispel darkness. And another reaction spell that feels fitting for Pike, I think, Martyr's Intervention. It's uncommon and has the healing and necromancy traits, and has the cast type of verbal. Trigger is a creature within range will take damage that reduces it to 0 hit points, and it requires you not to have the wounded condition. Range is 60 feet, targets 1 creature. You shield a creature in dire need with your own life force, taking the harm upon yourself to save their life. The target is reduced to 1 hit point instead of 0, and all remaining damage that was prevented from harming the target instead is dealt to you. Both you and the target become wounded 1, and the targets who are already wounded increase the wounded value by 1. So Pike having less of a chance of being wounded is pretty cool with this one. And I know it says Necromancy. I feel like we could swing it to be like a more Serenray version of the thing if you needed to, if you really didn't sit well having the Necromancy trait. But I still feel like it's a thing Pike would do. Nearly there. Divine Wrath, Concentrate, Manipulate, Sanctified Spirit, range 120 feet, makes a 20-foot burst area for the attack and defends Fortitude saves. You channel the Fury of Divinity against your foes. Deal 4d10 spirit damage to enemies in the area, depending on their Fortitude save. On a crit success, they are not affected. On a success, they take half damage. On a fail, they take full damage and become sickened 1. And on a critical fail, they take full damage and are sickened 2. And whilst they are sickened, they are also slowed 1. Sickened's already bad enough, but slowed means they can only take 2 actions instead of 3 on their turn, so that's pretty cool. And it's quite a lot of damage. It's a good AoE damage spell. Pike's got to have at least, some damaging stuff. But that's not the next one. The next one is Soothing Spring, which is amazing and very funny, and also for both Pike and Vox Machina's penchant for having hot spring episodes, I think it fits very well. It's got the healing, again Necromancy, positive and water traits, cast time 1 minute, material, somatic, verbal, range 30 feet, duration 1 hour. Why 1 hour? Well, because you create like a spring, you create a hot spring essentially. It's comfortable, mildly sulphurous and all good, and you're able to draw a full energizing potential of the middle rich water. You can create any creature that spends a full hour soaking in the hot spring, basking in the mud from the bottom of the pit regains 10d8 hit points and feels refreshed, losing the fatigued condition. As normal for effects that remove fatigue, this doesn't remove any underlying source of it, such as lack of sleep, causing the condition to return if the underlying source isn't addressed. It's 20 feet on each side, 5 foot deep, and can contain 16 medium or smaller creatures at a time. Large creatures count as 8 medium creatures, and huge fills the entire pool. Pool's a structure trait, same restrictions as magic items that create structures. It's just fun, it's just cool. You just sit in it for an hour if you're safe and just heal and relax and stuff. It's cool, it's fun for RP, and I think it makes sense for Pike. And then we have Vital Beacon, which is another healing kind of spell that is quite fun. It's got the Concentrate, Healing, Manipulate, and Vitality traits, cast time 1 minute, duration, your next daily preparations. Vitality radiates outward from you, allowing you to supplicate and receive healing. Once per round, either you or an ally can use an interact action to supplicate and lay hands upon you to regain hit points. Each time the beacon heals someone, it decreases in strength, so it does 4d10, then 4d8, then 4d6, and then 4d4. You can only have 1 vital beacon at a time, and the spell ends after the 44. It's a cool spell, it's spoken as cast on earlier, and it means that other people can do healing if you need to do something that's more important to themselves, if they're not dead, obviously. But, it's really cool. It also means Pike, if she got really damaged for some reason, instead of spending a 2-action heal on herself, can just tap and get some back as well. So, it's cool. It's good. I like it. It's fun. Heals are still more powerful, but as a single action thing to put on that lasts more consistently, allows you to do other actions. It's very cool. I've said cool too many times now. Next up, Reaction Breath of Life. Trigger, a living creature within range would die. Not fall unconscious, die. Range of 60 feet targets the triggering creature. Concentrate, Healing, and Vitality traits. Your blessing revives the creature at the moment of its death. You prevent the target from dying and restore 5d8 hit points to the target. And then you can't use it if the triggering effect was a death effect or an effect that leaves no range, such as Disintegrate. So this isn't a cure-all, obviously you need to be within 60 feet, but that's reasonable. But if it is a death effect, which lots of very damaging, powerful spells are, then it does not work, because the death effect of that cancels out your vitality. And if it's Disintegrate, well, yeah, there's nothing to breathe life back into, unfortunately. But it's cool to have, definitely something Pike would have. And finally, Divine Immolation. Quite a change from the last one. Concentrate, Fire, Manipulate, Sanctified Spirit, 2 actions, range 120 feet, again it's a 20-foot area burst. Defense this time though is reflex rather than fortitude. Divine Flame scour creatures within an area. They take 66 fire damage and 2d6 persistent fire damage, and the divine power within the flame scorches the spirit as well. Creature will take spirit damage instead of fire if it's more detrimental to the creature. On a critical success, unaffected, and so on and so forth. It's the 4 rules of success as normal. Creature takes half damage, no persistent on success, full damage and persistent on a fail, and on a critical fail, double damage and double persistent damage. Persistent damage lasts with you on each round until you succeed against it to remove it, so that's potentially quite a lot of damage after the initial damage as well. 20 foot's a decent space as well. And there we are. That is all of Pike's spells, or the ones that we've chosen. Again, she can have others, but I think that's a pretty good vibe. We've got lots of kind of healing and protective stuff, a little bit of like spiritual weapony kind of things, and yeah, a little bit of all kind of elements, I'd say, of clericiness, but mostly focused on more the fiery side because of Serenray. And finally, comparing weapons. Pike's Morningstar she still has, but she now has the Mace of Disruption, which is also +5 to hit, but does 2d6 +1 radiant damage. And Fiends or Undead take an extra 2d6, and if a Fiend or Undead fails a Wisdom save, DC 15, they become frightened of the wielder. And if they've less than 25 hit points, they're permanently destroyed. And it sheds light as well, so that's a pretty neat mace. Like we mentioned, she's also got the Spirit Boots, Splinter's Boots even as well, which make her faster for 1 minute as a bonus action. We haven't added such things here, but she does now have her +1 striking scimitar, which means it's a +16 to hit and deals 2d6 +2 slashing damage. And as a +1 weapon, it is now magical as well. So similar standard damage for those attacks, but the striking scimitar is probably likely to hit a little bit more with a +16 within Pathfinder as a system than the +5 that Pike has in 5e. But that will soon change, I'm sure. Pike's strength is still lower than it will eventually become. And that's it. That's Pike, or my interpretation anyway, obviously. This is just the things that I think make sense. There might be things that make more sense. As always, leave any things that you do differently down in the comments below. It'll be interesting to see. But that is it. We've now made everyone in Vox Machina at level 9. So next thing I'm going to try and do, if I can, is look at a combat that they did at level 9. I have to see if there's one where Pike is about, and if not, we'll just change it anyway, and see how things would go differently if they were in Pathfinder, and how that combat would essentially go. Would they use the same tactics? Would different tactics be used instead? We'll see. It'll be interesting. It might take a bit longer, so we'll see how that goes. And then level them all up to level 10 together. And it won't be individual this time, as it should obviously take less for each member of the party, so we'll do those as one video. So it's going to change. Like I said, it is a closing of a chapter, but a new chapter will begin for this series, and I'm interested to see where it goes. So subscribe for that if you haven't already, if you want to see more, and like the video. Likes, comments, always really appreciated for algorithm and all that fun stuff. And that's pretty much it. So if you've made it this far, thank you very much for watching. I'll have more videos out in the coming weeks, usually about Pathfinder, but sometimes TTRPGs more in general. Thank you for watching. I may have said that already, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.